So a few hours after the docking shambles, absolute complete fakery, they wanted more. They went for more. They did what they called the hatch show, opening the hatch where the astronauts meet. So I sat down and captured the screen and caught it. You know, you NASA guys, you guys over the pond, you do some pretty good rubbish. But over in Europe, we're like, we've excelled ourselves. We're doing some really good rubbish as well.
Yes, of course, because these are, you know, potentially you've got 3 crew on the space station, 3 crew in the Soyuz.
So this is supposed to be the docking from earlier. I don't know why they didn't film it live.
I think it went right in the way that the crew is the backup.
No, it's what the spaceship they're on looks quite white, doesn't it? The body of it looks white.
So the automatic sequence.
Make a note of that for later.
Yuri Manashenko took over. It was probably what was unusual was that it was longer because this is not the first time.
They lost the image earlier when they were docking, but they seem to have found it again.
Soyuz commander is taking over manually. It happened in the history of
there's no telemetry coming in right now, so there aren't many of those during the day. So it's great if the team can take a slight break.
Look at that! It's a empty control room. See, you American guys in Houston and Cape Canaveral, you NASA dudes over the pond, you go for the big gung ho, let's go, woo, and the high fives. But the European dudes, they're more like, nah, let's just go for a coffee. We don't even care. We don't even need to try. We're not even going to bother. Now the European dudes, they know that people are so droned up, they don't even need to bother. You can just save the budget, save some of that 4 or 5 billion euros.
The team here, basically, we have several tasks. As I said before, we're here to support the execution of the timeline, but we're also here to help prepare the activities which are coming up. And we're looking ahead. We're looking 24 hours ahead, 3 days ahead, 7 days ahead, a whole week ahead. And in fact, we have a team overnight that are also taking a look at the timelines, preparing for the activities coming up ahead. Essentially, we're also here to help the crew whenever we get into an emergency situation on board. So the crew
they had an emergency earlier, didn't they, with the manual docking? And as we saw, there was just one guy eating his lunch.
And I think it's important to point out, and this shows this, because, okay, we can't see anyone right now in the control room, but there are plenty of people behind me, there are plenty of people around in this building.
Yeah, of course there are. Of course there are. Loads of people in the building. Yep, we believe you.
Cramped up in spacesuits for.
No, I didn't know about you, but that looks like canvas. That looks like material, like a cloth or something.
To open the door. We can't see anything through the window, so I imagine they're now in the orbital portion.
big change.
So they can move through then from the descent module into the orbital portion, and then it's just a question of opening the hatches once the pressure is equal, once they've done checks. Obviously, you don't want to let any air out or anything like that.
Don't want to let any air out. Oh my God. This is all for children, isn't it? This is all for like 5 to 7 year olds. So how come this rocket has turned into these 2 black blobs of canvas?
You're squished more into your chair, higher acceleration.
Push back into your chair with acceleration? Well, surely you couldn't play Sudoku.
So it's kind of a toss-up. It's not a relaxing day, but it's a magnificent day.
Yeah. And eventually, of course, it stops being a rocket and becomes a spaceship, which is what this is.
Yeah, the little guy in here is that.
Yes. And that will open out after about 8-9 minutes.
Right around 9 minutes when you're in orbit, all this stuff is gone.
All this stuff is gone. That's a great technical explanation.
And all that makes it to space is the Soyuz with the crew, and then the solar arrays deploy, and the antennas deploy, and this little docking mechanism sticks out, and the vehicle's ready to go.
I can tell you, this thing takes about 6 hours to get to the ISS. They don't really need solar panels because with a rack of batteries, you don't really need to charge them in 6 hours. This is just complete nonsense. Little docking mechanism sticks out. Are these guys for real?
Station and the Soyuz. Nicard waving to the camera.
Well, I'm trying not to absolutely wet themselves laughing, aren't they?
Time for pictures.
Oh, they got some cameras now. Why didn't they use them earlier when they did the docking?
This is
high intense,
it's a
you know,
significant event.
docking with some other astronauts, and we're just going to take some photos, take some selfies.
And this is the first British European Space Agency astronaut to visit the space station. So, selfies now.
Selfie.
It's the 21st century way of doing space, so lots of selfies. Expect to see them on Twitter from Commander Scott Kelly, I would imagine, later on in the day or maybe
It's very
tomorrow.
likely. Took a little bit of force to open, but it's open now.
Can't really open the hatch, you know. There's no button, no automation for the hatch. Just like yank it open. Yeah,
As you can see.
looks real.
Yeah, it's a small.
This guy can't stop laughing, can he? It's on the happy pills. Yeah, there's no checks to do, no science. They're just going to grin and laugh and take some photos.
Okay, little moving around. Sergei Volkov now closest to camera.
And the commander has to be the first one welcoming the crew.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it says
So you're seeing the.
So I guess these are the 46 Expedition 46 shirts.
So just moving the camera around.
Got some sort of NASA mind control coming out of his palm chakra. You will believe in space.
Close up of a hand. See, we never thought we'd get that.
Is that canvas thing again with a bit of green screen behind it?
Space
It's
hand.
like a normal human hand.
It is like a normal. It is remarkably like a normal human. I mean, I'm always still amazed that these are live pictures from space. You know, even though we're mostly seeing astronauts' bottoms here, actually
Brian
it's
Cox
still
will like this
live
show, then, won't he?
pictures from space, and I was
It's
thinking,
quite unbelievable.
people living and working, operating in space, and particularly, you know, the one-year crew, spending a year up here on the International Space Station.
Guy's spent nearly a year up there. Yeah, right. He's a little fat boy. If he'd spent a year in 0G, he'd be like really skinny and really weak.
Whenever you see images from space, how well everyone gets on with everyone else.
He's just trying not to piss himself laughing, that guy, isn't he?
And of course they have been training also a long time before the mission together. So
There's a lovely shot while we wait. Probably a prettier shot than the inside of the Razvet. Beautiful exterior shot of the International Space Station.
Lovely shot, no stars. Complete nonsense. And why didn't they show this earlier? Show the docking. If they can show this now, why didn't they show the docking earlier? Why did they have some like 1980s computer game going on? Let's have some Russian filtered voice in the background. Make it sound like something serious is going on.
it's too bad that we don't have a camera on the Soyuz side.
Yes, exactly.
We don't have a camera on the Soyuz side, but you do, because earlier on we saw the little pendulum on a string. So now you're saying there isn't a camera the other side, but there clearly was earlier.
But also, Tim Peake will be taking part in many education activities. In fact, I think more education activities than any astronaut on the space station.
Translates
So
to
far,
mind controlling
many,
children
many,
in schools.
Activities, including the Astro Pi, which is a little bit like the Raspberry Pi. It's based on the Raspberry Pi. He's also be talking live to schools across the UK, and of course with the media as well. There will be a lot of communication. You will hear a lot from Tim Peake when he's on the International Space Station.
See the emphasis there. There will be a lot of communication with Tim Peake. Basically, we're going to ram this space and International Space Station lie down your throats, especially into the children. They've got really open minds and quite spongy brains.
And I would hope that anyone watching this today would be a space fan.
Space fan? What is that? So, I'm a space fan.
Reaction from the families and the VIPs at Baikonur. There's Tim Peake, British European Space Agency astronaut. Now on
Not bringing anything on with them.
is home for the next
Nothing from
6 months.
the guys who are already on there for
Camera,
ages.
and
Nothing
there
from their
is Soyuz commander
families.
Yuri
So who
Malenchenko.
is Tim Peake? He was an army major in the Air Corps. Here he is photoed with a flying murder machine behind him. Here's an article on the BBC showing all his army mates, how they support him, where he used to train to be an army dude. So this is a military guy.
Being welcomed on board.
The pilot of the day.
And the pilot, absolutely the hero of the day that got the crew there, docked manually to the space station, which is extremely unusual. It was extremely tense if you were watching the docking. So Korolev, of course, the
First thing they're going to do, not going to talk about safety or experiments. They're going to phone their wife and kids. They're only with them a few hours ago. They haven't even talked to each other yet. You know, these are astronauts. They need to talk to each other before they'd be talking to Earth. This is just complete nonsense.
Checks first, and they'll be able to talk to families and friends gathered at Baikonur.
Look at that laptop up there. If that falls off, I mean,
We'll be showing that.
they've got the props, the little bits of space food on the kitchen table there.
They all look good.
Look, he's a fat boy, that guy, isn't he? The bald guy. He's been on there for nearly a year. He's not going to be getting that fat from eating those little rations in 0G, where your muscles are degrading.
It's establishing connections for the public event. And you can see
Look, they're all trying not to laugh, aren't they? They're just trying not to laugh.
Whole crew
It's
gathered here
absolutely high on life, aren't they? They're just absolutely laughing. Probably because they're getting a big lump of that 4 billion euros that ESA take each year.
Two Americans.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event? Baikonur, this is Mission Control, Houston.
We read your flight by, and you guys look great, and we'll start off with the Malenchenko contingent.
Hi. There you have up there. I want to congratulate you. What the most amazing launch ever.
I went to watch three dudes here. I watched this a few times. The guy here with the red tie looks a bit like an agent. The other guy with the tie to his right. The guy on the end, bald guy. Just watch these three guys' body language throughout this footage.
It was really beautiful to watch, and yeah, just have
It's that crisis actor chick. Had a really big delay in for effect. I don't know what's going on with these two guys. I think they're in love. I don't know if this person here is a boy or a girl. Doesn't matter. You can put in the comment section below what you think.
Hi Dad, it's Jacqueline. Hi Dad, it's Jacqueline. I just wanted to say, it was a beautiful lunch today, and I love you, and I hope you have an amazing day. I love you.
She's speaking like she hasn't seen him for like a few months. It's like they were with each other a few hours ago.
Hey buddy. I just want to say that I'm really proud of you.
Hey, Dad, it's Matthew. I just want to say that I'm really proud of you.
So who's this guy laughing in the background? Who's this bloke? Let's check him out. Meet David Willits, Lord David Willits, a former government cabinet minister who was once in charge of Treasury monetary policy, the chief whip, the paymaster general in the Conservative Party. Now he's a baron, a lord. And funnily enough, he stepped down from government early this year. So what is he doing in this live audience? My guess is, as he's worked with government and money so much, he's now an agent to protect the 4 billion euros they get from droned up taxpayers. He's there to ensure that this day runs smoothly.
The link, but we're hoping to get it back in a few minutes. Jan Werner, head of ESA, was talking to the crew on the space station.
I mean, you can watch some like English League Two football match live via satellite all around the world on some dodgy internet site. They say it's via satellites. You know, you're about 1 second behind, but you can watch some crummy soccer match all around the world on the internet via satellite. Never really loses the link. But you talk to the ISS, the flagship, spaceship, space station, and you can't really get a stable link to it. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Two agents there trying not to laugh, aren't they? Sitting in the middle, coordinating it all.
You selected the window seat. What did you see?
Well, it was a beautiful launch, and we got launched straight into night and got on with the work. But that first sunrise was absolutely spectacular, and we also got the benefit of a moonrise on the first orbit as well, which is beautiful to see.
Not really sure that's possible to see a moonrise just a couple of days after the new moon, but I haven't got time today to check that out. This is a guy that apparently his first time in space, he's just done 4 orbits of the Earth. He would be telling us, humanity, he would have a message for us, wouldn't he, about what he saw. This is not real. Anyway, let's have a little look into this guy, the head of ESA. Let's have a little look at him. Meet Johann Dietrich Warner, the Director General of ESA. He's been involved for years in many university institutions. He's a chairman on the executive board of German Aerospace Center. You look at his eyes and his face. He looks like he's riddled with archons, doesn't he? He doesn't look like he could tell the truth to his grandma. And this is the guy running the show.
Hi Tim, this is David Parker at the UK Space Agency.
David Parker, isn't that Spider-Man? Anyway, let's check out this dude as well. It's usually seen with big corporations drumming up money. These investors will believe anything.
I was very fortunate to spend 2 years seconded into government back in the middle of the 1990s, where, as it were, I flipped over to being the government side of the fence, trying to understand why are we investing in some of this space technology. But it opened my eyes to the policy drivers, the economic drivers, that government was interested in.
4 billion.
I spent a while doing business development and marketing, trying to convince other organisations to buy the spacecraft that we were
Give us money.
In the industry. And so then, for quite a few years, I was working in the UK government organisation that was the research funding organisation for space science and astronomy and particle physics. Well, the fundamental starting point is that we have a vision to grow the UK space sector overall.
Want more
We're
money?
At about £11.3 billion
not enough.
at the moment. It's grown 7% a year consistently over the past decade.
11 billion's not enough.
But the target the industry have set themselves is to get to 40 billion by 2030.
We want another 30 billion.
For companies to be created, so there are SMEs being spun out of the space sector.
We're going to create dodgy companies all over the place to hide the money.
And tap into the kind of buzz, the new environment that we've created in the UK. And further investing on the other side of the coin, you see the inward investment that we're starting to secure.
Inward investment really means giving yourself money.
Was a significant increase in investment in the European Space Agency. And we've just removed the insurance premium tax that satellite operators pay.
Yeah, got rid of all that.
With industry.
Get rid of the red tape.
The advantage of ESA is it allows us to achieve a lot more for a certain amount of money. It's a bigger bang for the buck. That's a framework that allows industry to put some money on the table, government to put money on the table.
It's
and
all
to be
for
a
us.
member of the kind of the NASA club, if you like, that sort of captures world attention all the time.
I think the ESA scientific program is utterly world class in terms of value for money. So it's being very selective and smart about your investments. So you can get spin-offs very quickly. You're trying to solve a scientific problem with technology you haven't yet invented. Yeah, so Tim Peake's mission to the space station, 6-month mission, starts towards the end of this year in November. And it's a tremendous opportunity for us to highlight the fact that the UK has an active space activity, to use Tim as a role model for young people to think about careers in science, technology, engineering.
We're going to use Tim as a puppet actor for mind control children.
That the UK really is a player in
He looks a bit sceptical, doesn't he? Something inside him says, this guy's dodge.
Story we can tell through Tim and through Tim's mission because of all the different things he's going to be doing. Academy that is getting teachers up to speed on how to use space in the schoolroom. There are amazing initiatives such as a space studio school in Oxfordshire, where they're 14 to 18-year-olds, where the whole of the curriculum is built around STEM and particularly space. So using space as a mechanism to excite people and put it into the curriculum to help the students develop. So that's an interesting experiment, been running since September last year. The second one is going to start up this year. So we're trying new things to bring space down to earth.
We're going to drive it right into the minds of those kids. It's actually a mind control experiment. And this is the guy in the live audience, yeah? A guy to do with mind control experiments and grabbing hold of 4 billion euros.
Congratulations on a fantastic launch. I think most of the country has got really behind you and is enjoying your mission so far. So as you look forward to your 6-month mission of science and discovery in the future, my question is, what would you like to say to all of the young people who watched the launch today?
Around Europe and the UK, so I hope you enjoyed
Hope you enjoyed the
the show.
show. He's actually admitting it's a show.
Hi Tim, it's Rebecca here. It was fantastic to watch that launch today. And there was quite a few parties down on the ground.
Quite a few parties, and a lot of them start laughing. The agents, and these two guys, and crisis actor chick. What were they on about? Parties, quite a few parties. Was there some sort of inside joke here? Where they're probably spending some of your 4 billion tax. So the guy who's been up there nearly a year, he's not allowed to speak to his family, no? But Parker, he knows it's all a hoax. I mean, he can't stop laughing, Parker. He's like, I've got to stop laughing. 'Cause my bosses at MI5 are watching this.
Great time in the office, that's for sure.
Night in the office, ha ha ha, yeah. Inside joke there.
Hi Tim, it's Dad. I just want to know if your twin, Tim, enjoyed the little surprise you had for him.
Prize at takeoff for the other guy. Probably some gay sexual favour. That would be my guess.
Well, crew, up on the International Space Station, we're going to wrap it up. You've had a long day already.
There's no one there. The Europeans are like, no, we don't go for the high fives. We're just going to go home. We're just going to go home, make love, drink some coffee, European style.
The International Space Station crew up to its complement of 6 once again, and as Tim Peake's mother said, a spectacular day at the office. That's
Spectacular day at the office. Yeah, because they know they're in the office. They haven't gone anywhere.
Well, Leah, thank you very much for joining us.
It was a great day.
It was a great day in the end. It had moments of drama, of tension. Spectacular. Well, that's the end of our launch and docking coverage for Tim Peake's mission to the International Space Station.
Now, the next day after this, Professor Brian Cox put on his Facebook, for all those who contacted me to suggest that the International Space Station is fake, honestly, you are the highest order of shitwits. A little time later, he said on his Facebook, it has been brought to my attention that the correct term for people who don't believe in the space station is fucksnozzle, not shitwit. And this is like, what children think is the leading scientist in the UK. He's like the BBC pin-up boy, isn't he? This is someone's destabilised. This is very interesting. I've been on his Facebook and offered him to a live online debate about the International Space Station. Mr. Cox has yet to reply. Seriously, this is just unbelievable. I want you to share this around. If people are laughing at you for flat Earth, you share this around. Show your family, show your lover, and you tell them, if you believe this, the joke's on you.